Hi, welcome to Black Equity Talk, where we discuss topics and issues related to improving the health and the wealth of the Black community. And I am your host, TK. Today, we do not have a special guest, so our topic will be Juneteenth. And as most of you know, Juneteenth has become a nationally recognized federal holiday. So this is exciting for a lot of people who worked hard, the committees who worked hard to get this accomplished. A lot of people are crediting Opal Lee, who her nickname is the grandmother of Juneteenth. She's done a lot of social work, social activist work. She's marched every year around Juneteenth. There's also a committee who's done a lot of work to get this holiday recognized. So the committee that had been working to get Juneteenth recognized as a federal holiday is the National Juneteenth Observation Foundation. This organization has created the official Juneteenth flag, and you are able to purchase this flag from their website. And I'm assuming that the proceeds will go to the nonprofit. The goal of the nonprofit is to encourage people to do annual celebrations and recognizing Juneteenth, the day Juneteenth that slaves found out that they were free. So let me back up a little bit and we'll talk about Juneteenth and what it is. So Juneteenth is a holiday, and it's been celebrated since 1860s, I believe, and on. This is the date that troops went into the former Confederate state of Texas and actually enforced the Emancipation Proclamation. This was in 1865. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed in January of 1863, but it wasn't until June of 1865 that it was enforced. What a lot of people may not be aware of is that the Emancipation Proclamation, when it was signed by Abraham Lincoln, it made slavery illegal in Confederate states only. So there were a few states who still were able to legally have slaves, and that was Delaware and Kentucky. After the 13th Amendment was official and ratified, then it became illegal in all states to own slaves unless it was for punishment for crime. So that loophole was allowed slavery to continue if it was done as a punishment for a crime. And in those times, all you had to do was be accused of a crime. And if there were enough people who come forward that were white who said that you did this crime and you went to court and the judge is all white people, you're going to be convicted. So this is, you see those old time photos of a lot of Black men in those stripes, the black and white striped uniforms, and they're working very hard. This was legalized slavery, and it's still going on to this day, but it is a little bit less obvious. It's harder to just convict someone without appearing to be racist, but it does still happen. We've come a long way, but there is work to be done when it comes to prison reform and police brutality. And when it comes to the treatment that a lot of Black people receive at the hands of law enforcement, which brings me to the point of the kind of the irony of this day becoming a holiday and the choice of the flag to represent this holiday. There are a lot more activists who are pushing for police reform, that are pushing for deprivatization of the prison system, and that are pushing for reparations. And these things have been put on the back burner. And Juneteenth, I do understand it's not as difficult to say, okay, this is a federal holiday, but there have been years and years of activists fighting for these other more pressing things, in my opinion. So there is a disconnect and it's kind of a uneasy feeling. Of course, we want to be recognized, but when a holiday becomes a holiday, there is the big possibility and the likelihood that it is going to be a money generating day. And we need to figure out who's going to benefit from this money. There are a lot of companies who are problematic when it comes to representation, when it comes to overt and covert racism. If they create a product and people go and rush to buy these products to celebrate Juneteenth, and we're rushing to buy these flags and t-shirts, are Black people going to purchase these things from other Black people? Are Black people going to directly benefit? I even heard someone say, if you are a service worker, like a waitress or a nurse, and you have to go to work on Juneteenth and you have to serve someone who possibly is the descendant of a slave owner. Of course, we know these people didn't actively, the people today did not actively have slaves, but the symbolism of it, of this person who once was forced into this position is now having to serve someone else on this date that other people may have off. If they're in the federal government, they may have this day off paid, but people who are descendants of the slaves are forced to work in order to get paid. So that irony there is not lost on me. What do you feel about that? And I'm not trying to, race bait anyone. I just want people to not stop at, we have Juneteenth recognized as a federal holiday, and look further and do more. As Black people, it is imperative and so important for you yourself to do your due diligence and go further into looking at who receives the benefit from this becoming a federal holiday. I would like private companies to do more. So for example, recently in the news, IKEA, there was a little controversy around the menu that they selected to commemorate and recognize Juneteenth. And they chose stereotypical items like fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, and watermelon. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with this food. It may not be the healthiest, fried foods and, pasta with cheese. These are still foods that a lot of people eat and enjoy. And that's not necessarily the problem, but the problem is when you do something for someone else without knowing what they actually want. Was there someone who consulted with a diverse group of people, Black people, and say, what would you like us to serve? What would you like us to do to recognize Juneteenth holiday? The intention behind the gesture may be positive, but the outcome kind of fell flat. So, and that's just a small example in one IKEA store in Atlanta, but this is something that happens throughout many private and public organizations, also nonprofit organizations. So let's look at this flag, because this is something that I really want to talk about. I saw an article on CNN.com that explained this flag and the symbolism behind it. And I found out that this flag has been in development for 10 plus years. And it was created by a man named Ben Hayes. And the symbolism of the flag, as you can see, it is a red, white, and blue flag. These are the American colors. And if you speak to the descendants of the people who were enslaved here in America, they may have wanted other colors, possibly red, Black and green, these are colors of the Pan-African flag. But the reason behind choosing the red, white, and blue was to state that African Americans are citizens, they were citizens then, and we are citizens now, which is a little bit debatable. We had to fight to become a full citizen, and it wasn't always that African Americans were considered citizens. In the center of the flag is a white star, and the star symbolizes Texas as the Lone Star State. And because it was in Galveston in 1865, where the soldiers informed the last remaining enslaved people that the Emancipation Proclamation was issued 2 years earlier and that they were free. The star also has a bursting outline around the star, and it's inspired by a nova, a term that astronomers use to mean a new star. And on this Juneteenth flag, it represents a new beginning for African Americans, that they were no longer enslaved, but now considered free. There's a curve that extends across the width of the flag, and it represents a new horizon, the opportunities and promise that lay ahead for Black Americans. So that is the symbolism behind this design of the flag. How many people are even aware that this is considered the official flag? And also, out of those people, are you satisfied with this flag? So you can go ahead and drop in the comments here. Do you like the flag? Do you think it is the symbolism behind the flag is positive? Does it represent how you feel about Juneteenth? Does it represent what you would like to see for African Americans in the United States? And by African Americans, I mean the descendants of the people who were enslaved here. Juneteenth is specific to a certain group of African Americans. What do you think about this flag? What do you think about Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday? What do you think about people who are service workers not having this day off as a paid holiday, only federal employees? Do you think that consumerism around holidays will benefit Black people or benefit others? Who will be the primary benefactors of Juneteenth becoming a federal nationally recognized holiday? I choose to focus on things that will decrease the wealth gap, that would allow our descendants, our offspring, to live better than we are. You know, we live better than they did in the 1860s, but in 2060, I want people to live even better than we are now. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I appreciate you. Please don't forget to click that like button if you like, or go ahead and click the dislike button if you hated this video. Comment, let me know why, and subscribe to our channel. We post weekly, either a video on a topic such as this, or we have special guests. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.